What's up, boys? Welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, welcome to the channel. In this video, I'm going to get into the biggest difference, or one of the biggest differences, I should say, between the Polish women and the Latin American women. Specifically, I'm going to be comparing mostly to a place like Colombia, because that is a place that is really big in this space. Now, before I do that, go ahead, smash the like button. Costs you nothing, means the world to me, and I would really appreciate if you could do that for me. So, with all that said, let's get into this topic. And yes, we are doing another shirtless video because, surprise, I cannot afford a shirt according to the Polish people in the comments. Somehow I was able to fly all the way across the world to Poland, stay in 5-star hotels for a long period of time, but I can't afford a shirt. So, with all that said, one of the biggest differences that I've noticed here in Poland, specifically Warsaw, in comparison to a place like, let's just compare it to Medellin, because I think that'll make an interesting title for a video, is let me tell you something. If you are in Medellin or many parts of Colombia, there is a single mother epidemic. I have talked about this ad nauseum in a specific video. I don't remember what I titled it. But there is an insane amount of single mothers in Colombia, especially young single mothers. There is, like I said, pretty much an epidemic on single motherhood. And so if you go to Colombia, while the women might be physically attractive, they probably are going to have some level of baggage. So a lot of people in this space talk about, oh, Colombianas, the paisas are so beautiful. There's just 8s, 9s, and 10s walking all over the place. You're going to be living a dream, blah, blah, blah. Now, a couple things they don't talk about. A vast majority of Colombian women are paid for, whether they're legitimate pros or maybe they have an OnlyFans or they're sugar babies, doesn't matter. And this isn't even going to get into the topic of safety. Like, that could be a whole separate video. You're not really doing anything to, like, dot your T's or dot your I's and cross your T's. I think I have that backwards. Cross your T's and dot your I's. I think that's what I was looking for. Whereas you really got to be on your P's and Q's in a place like Colombia because, shocker, guess what? People get drugged, robbed, and deleted left and right. Well, maybe not left and right, but much more prevalent than a place like Poland. So removing that from the equation, you know, they are attractive, but the level of education, not super great in a place like Colombia. It's just not to the level of a place like Poland, for example, or Warsaw, I should say. And so, are you really, like, if this is important to you, are you really going to get the mental stimulation? Now, another thing is the amount of Colombianas that speak English, not super high. So, whereas a lot of Polish people do speak English. And so, back to the whole topic of this video. If you are dating younger than 25 in Poland, a vast majority of these women probably not going to be single mothers. I'm not saying there are no single mothers in Poland, but in comparison to a place like Colombia, like pretty much every single woman higher than an 8, probably a single mom or a pro. Like, that's just what it is, okay? And so if you don't want to be dealing with single moms or pros, you're not going to have a very large dating market in Colombia. That's just what it is. Are those really going to be high quality women? Are those going to be wife material women? Probably not. Now, some of you may say, oh, I don't really want to deal with 8, 9, or 10. So be it. I mean, to each their own. You could also say something like, well, the Colombiana's probably more open to dating foreigners, probably a little easier to date in general, just because there is more status given to you if you are someone from a legacy brand country. So, Western Europe, the United States, Canada, Australia, so on and so forth. So that is going to give you more of a boost than it would with the Polish women, let's say, because frankly, Polish women probably have a stronger passport than the United States, but we won't really get into that topic because there's various different considerations you have to make on that judgment. But um, yeah, I mean that has been probably one of the most shocking things to me. Like in Colombia, they really do have to monetize their beauty because the economics just aren't at the same level as they are in Poland. Although you could argue Colombia is a rising economy, um, but they just don't have the same level of job opportunities. I mean, a lot of women leave Medellin and go to a place like Bogota because of there are more legitimate non-pro type activities or jobs available in a place like Bogota and compared to Medellin. And so when you go to a place like Warsaw, I should say, you are pleasantly surprised by the lack of single moms and the lack of beautiful women that, or the fact that a lot of the beautiful women here aren't sugar babies. They don't have an OnlyFans link in their Instagram bio. Okay? Whereas, like I said before, if you do happen to stumble upon a very attractive woman in Medellin specifically, and she doesn't have, and she's not a pro, the odds of her having an OnlyFans link in her bio or some sort of monetization of her beauty, very slim. Now, obviously, you could be dating down the totem pole, and assuming we aren't including sevens because sevens don't exist, but even then, a lot of those women below an 8 are going to be sugar babies, especially in Medellin or straight out pros. And so that has been a pleasant surprise for me. And it is something that tells you a little bit about the economic status of these different countries. And it also tells you a little bit more about, I don't want to say the mindset because, you got to do what you got to do to survive. And I completely understand that. And I mean, I don't judge these women, they're not particularly for me. But if you're just looking for a short, quick, good time, probably better off in a place like Colombia. Whereas, don't get me wrong, there's definitely a paid culture in Poland, but it's not going to be nearly as abundant as it would be in Medellin. And it's going to take a lot more effort, a lot more work. And like I said, the amount of high level women that are educated here is really prevalent. So a lot of them don't turn towards monetizing their beauty, or at least they haven't yet, with the increase in cost of living in Warsaw. That might be something that's around the corner. There's no way to tell because it hasn't happened yet. But even for it to get to the level of Medellin is insane. And going back to the beginning of the video, there would have to be a massive culture shift for a bunch of Polish women to start being single mothers, okay? Because, um, a place like Medellin, which is, I think, has the highest single mother rate in the world, that is, without getting too, what, how can I put this? Without getting too controversial and being too and generalizing, like that is something that is ingrained within the culture, like to just accept that amount of single motherhood. and all the things that that entails. I just don't see a place like Poland um, becoming like that. And so, if you are legitimately looking for better options, like I don't recommend traveling solely for women. I mean, I talk about women on this channel because, I've lived abroad for nearly a decade now. And when you live at different places, you inherently date women from different cultures. So I have a lot of experience doing that. But I must reiterate, that's not the reason I left. And it's not even the reason I'm in Poland. I've said a billion times, Polish girls, not my type. But Poland offers a lot of other great things that you can come and experience. So if you, now I'm not saying like women shouldn't be a factor, but it shouldn't be like the deciding factor. So for example, how could I put this? Like, if you're a single guy and you're looking to move to a country, yeah, you're probably going to want to factor in, are you attracted to those women? Because that is part of living your life, right? But you shouldn't be like, I want to move to, I don't know, Poland because it's snow bunny heaven and you hate cold weather. That just doesn't make sense. Or you shouldn't move to, um, I don't know, China if you don't like Chinese people. Like, why would you do that? And I've said a million times, like, the number one thing on my list is taxes, and then it's weather, and then it's, well, the number one thing is freedom. Freedom, taxes, weather, safety, and then women come into play, as well as, value for your money as well. So, yeah, with that ran over, let's just go ahead and end this video. But I thought that would be something valuable for some of you guys to know, because I've also seen some other passport bros now starting to talk about how, oh yeah, all the content I have been making about the women in a certain country is only related to paid experiences, whether that is in Thailand or Colombia or Brazil or Dominican Republic, or not Mexico, because I don't really see people talk about P4P in Mexico. But that's why I started my channel all that time ago. I was like, hey, that's not how it is in Thailand. Like, I did organic dating in Thailand. No P4P. I've never done P4P in my entire life. And so I shared my experience and I told people, hey, this is what you can expect if you're doing organic dating. I'm not saying the people who were creating content on Thailand were lying, but I said that doesn't really make sense to me. Like, that's not really how that culture is. But it is if you're in Pattaya or in other certain districts, then yeah. And people like inherently comment and say, oh yeah, that wasn't my experience, blah, blah, blah. And then lo and behold, some guy slips up and says, oh yeah, well, I've been financially helping her, or blah, blah, blah. And it's like, okay, well, that's the truth of the matter. You should have said that from the jump instead of deceiving people into thinking, believing something is what it isn't. All right. So yeah, before I get myself into some unnecessary YouTube beef, let's go ahead and wrap up this video. Thank you for watching. I truly appreciate it. And smash that like button if you haven't smashed it already. And make sure to join the Patreon or donate or what may have you so I can afford to buy a shirt. Because the boy has no clothes. I mean, this is actually a green screen behind me. I'm sleeping on the streets of Poland. I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know what I'm going to do, guys. All your mean, nasty comments have finally got to me. What am I going to do? What's the boy going to do? All right. See you next time. And as always, peace, much love.